Yuvraj, you can start.
Good evening, everyone. I am Yuvraj Kaushal, Medical Education Coordinator of Square Medicine and Research. After a successful tenure last year, we are back with the very first event of 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought us all to our homes yet again, but on the expenses of our academics. Today, we shall be hearing from a very renowned personage to how we shall be learning surgery in the times of COVID. I'm honored to welcome Professor Chintamani, MS, FRCS, Edinburgh, England, Glasgow, and Ireland, FACS, FICS Surgical Oncology, FIMSA, and MAMSE. He's presently Professor of Surgery at VMMC and Safdarganj Hospital, New Delhi. He's a fellow of all the 4 Royal Colleges of UK and American College of Surgeons. He is an examiner of the MRCS, the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, UK. Besides being an examiner for MS, MCH, Surgical Oncology, examinations of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and various other universities across the state. Known for his teaching and operating skills, he is actively involved in teaching and training undergraduates, postgraduates, and postdoctorals, MCH, DNB Surgical Oncology students. In the past, he is headed as chairman and editor-in-chief of Indian Journal of Surgery, governing council member of Association of Surgeons of India, president of Association of Surgeons of India, and Association of Breast Surgeons of India. He's also been the joint editor of Indian Journal of Oncology, just to name a few. He is the examiner for MS, DNB, and MCH Breast, Endocrine, and Surgical Oncology at AIIMS and other Indian universities. Sir has conducted nearly 30 scientific paper writing hands-on workshops all over India under ACI and ACS, and has more than 100 scientific journals, publications in international and as well as national publications, and been a peer reviewer for more than 15 journals. He has authored 10 surgery and oncosurgery books and chapters, and has 145 free teaching clinical and operative videos on YouTube for various postgraduates and surgeons at large. With great pleasure and excitement, I now invite Sir to enlighten us all. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Good evening to all of you. I hope you're having a good time. I know these are difficult days. I'm truly excited when I was approached for sharing my thoughts on how should a student be learning surgery. The thought came, how should one be teaching the surgery also? So both aspects I'll try to touch in a way that I would like to. And also at the same time, I'll be very happy to share with you. So sorry about that. So end of the day, hopefully we'll find out some answers to some questions. But more importantly, you'll find some more questions, because that is what life is all about. Well, so the title is very apt. And when Tarun approached me, my reaction was, oh yes, this would be done, because that was something I thought that must be shared with the students. They are going through a very difficult time. Not only the postgraduates, undergraduate students, everybody, and all doctors and medical personnel in general, with the kind of scenario that we are having. Well, what exactly is the whole idea? Today I have a webinar immediately after this, and that's what I told him. So just it somewhere before, and I finished with one earlier. So what I'm trying to discuss here is the Carpe Diem spirit, which I believe in, which is, a lot of you must be wondering, what is it that I'm talking about? It's a positive and living for the day attitude, right? Don't think too much and don't think too far, because it's not something you control. For a lot of things, it's just que sera sera. You would be hoping that it is good. And that's the way to look at life, right? So let's share some moments together on the concept that is learning of surgery. Well, before you get into learning a subject or surgery, medicine, history, philosophy, or whatever, have an attitude of exploring the universe. Because life is about exploration. There's no end to what you can learn. And you'll be very surprised if I tell you, even now, I think there is so much left to be done, so much left to be learned. So the glory and the wonder of this universe is for you to see. If you miss out, it's a life wasted. So in the process, don't just forget, it's all happening around you, and not only around you, within you. So you're a part of it, and yet you would be looking at it. So it's very fascinating that you are a doer and a witness at the same time. And when you're doing both, or when you're in a dual role, it can be very confusing. What are you at that particular moment? A doer or a witness? Try to be both. It'll be useful. Well, I am not somebody who's trying to preach you, basically. And there is nothing new that anybody is ever going to say. It was all there. And I'm not suggesting it is based on any literature or scriptures or religion. It is based on the treasure that we already have with us, within us, and in our own civilization. The great way is not different for those who make no preferences. So, first of all, don't have a preference for heat or cold, hot or cold, summer or winters, good times and bad times, good friends and bad friends, good patients and bad patients, good day and a bad day. There's a very old, very, very popular song of John Denver. Some days are diamond, some days are stone. So don't ever look at a day as the world that you're faced or you're going to face. It's going to change. Positively, it has to change. It has no choice but to change. Then comes the question of making the right choices. Now, you have lots of fishes in one little pond. Now, this could be very comforting, mind you, because you can see each other, you can look at each other, feel good about being good vis a vis others, but that could be deception, it could be illusion. The typical story of a frog in a pond who had never seen an ocean. A smarter fish would take that jump into the bigger one, bigger pot. Why? Because there's more to explore. At the cost of what? Insecurity. What is insecurity? State of mind. So,
Hello?
see, I was muted by the host, and I think the screen has also disappeared. Am I?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
My screen is there?
Yes, sir. You can share screen, sir.
Share again.
Again, I'll share it. Sorry about that, but I think I didn't do anything. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Now, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's not our abilities that show what we truly are. It's our choices. And many a times, you blame the rest of the world for what you do, or what you don't do. Why? It's a choice you made. It's an option you had, and you decided to do it or to go in that way. So it's our choices. Now, this is a very old quote. You all read it, you all seen it, and it's there in your book, Hutchison. It's there in your book, Hamilton Bailey. Practice of medicine is an art based on science, understanding science of practice, upholding the art of healing. I'm focusing on science and art, basically, the two parts which are important. So it's both science and art. And let me tell you, the left side of the brain is involved with thinking and knowledge, acquiring skills. And the right side of the brain is probably related to your skills and the art. And learning is about combining both sides of the brain. So it's not just about one side of the brain, it's both sides. And therefore, it's very important to have an approach which is a mixture of the two. Now, like I said, we'll start with what is an optimum and the right surgical training. It can never be the best. that the term that we can use, because always is always wrong. It'll change, it'll be flexible. Remember surgeon and surgery, or I'll use the word surgeons and surgery are multifaceted. So training also has to be there for multifaceted. So it's very, very important that we understand that there's just not one facet to it. So it's not just about that I could not go to the medical school, so how would I be able to learn? There are so many facets to learning, and we'll explore each one. The training in surgery is basically on two pillars. There are other pillars, but these are the two primary pillars. One is clinical skill and competence, which you acquire when you are in the company of your teacher, in your classroom, or in the wards, or somewhere in the clinics or the operation theater. And the softer skills, which are the art and the skill of it, you acquire by being close to the elbow of the mentor. So surgery that way is slightly different from the other specialties, say medicine, where you may actually sit back and learn. You need patience even there. But here, there are some soft skills which you need to pick up, and they'll happen right next to your mentor. Well, that can be a challenge, and how did we address that? I'll share with you. When you acquired your clinical competence, you need to be looking and basically getting a good insight, which is also important, because good insight is what will make you put those clinical skills to use. And end of the day, discipline is all that counts. You know that discipline means success and anarchy means ruins. No system can grow, nobody can grow without the self-discipline or the imposed discipline. Self-discipline is always better, because the term imposed is not the correct term for humans, and everybody takes pride in the fact, well, I can take care of myself, so don't at all try to discipline me. Now, a word about the art of decision making. Don't worry, there's not going to be a lot of written stuff. My class is totally different. I'm giving you a little background as to what we are going to be talking at the end of the day. You should also know the reference point, because if there's no reference point, the goalpost will keep changing and you'll never score a goal, or you may score a self goal. Therefore, it is necessary to understand first the bottom line. Can the decision making be taught? Well, that's a very good question. I've been asked many times. Well, decision making is something you learn based on a lot of knowledge, following knowledge, wisdom, following that experience. Now, what do I put before? Wisdom or experience? I'll put experience first and then wisdom, although they will be close to each other. End of the day, it's not only the knowledge or the baggage you carry. I typically give the story of a horse and a cart. Cart is where you put in a lot of knowledge, stuff that you already have. You're bombarded with knowledge these days. Google Doctor, Google is giving you all the information, the click of a button. You got so much information that you can actually get completely flabbergasted. Horse is the wisdom. Now, what is put in front? Horse. If you put the cart in front, it won't work. But the tragedy is that's what is happening. We are collecting, or we are accumulators of whatever garbage that we can from wherever. And end of the day, we have nothing to pull it. So we've got a very heavy cart, no horse, or a very weak horse. It'll never move. So therefore, decision making, which is an art, is learned slowly and over a long period of time. So don't be too confused if you missed out 6 months or 1 year in COVID. It is going to change, and it's not going to be lasting. You will still have reasons to build on other skills, so that when you actually have the right time to pull your cart, the horse is ready. Well, these cartoons show you're reading about complications, 10%, 2%, maybe something, maybe how many will die, etc. So they're all statistics, and you become tigers at calculating. You read about the risk involved and the p-values and what have you. But the bottom line is, if you haven't got the right training, these values have no meaning. There is an old aphorism, especially for the surgeons. It's true for all specialties. A good surgeon is one who knows how to operate. I mean, you learned it over the years. You know how to do a good hernia. You know how to do a good cancer surgery. You know how to do a thyroid surgery. But a better surgeon is one, he knows when to operate. You can't operate on everybody every time. You need to tailor it to a patient, to a scenario, to a system, and to the person who is doing it. But the best surgeon is one who knows when not to operate. Well, don't get it the wrong way. If you don't know anything, the last sentence doesn't apply because then you can't operate. It's not about those who cannot operate. So over the years, you learn masterly inactivity. It's not easy. And inactivity is not masterly inactivity. Masterly inactivity is when you choose not to act. And that comes with a lot of wisdom. Similarly, right, like people tell you today, when you're dealing with an invisible enemy, which is what you're facing today, the best approach is to be invisible to the extent you can be. Because there's no point being visible to an invisible enemy. You would achieve nothing. You all read it, primum non nocere. It is there in Hutchinson's Clinical Methods. It's an old Greek proverb. Some people attribute it to Hippocrates. Whenever in doubt, attribute it to Hippocrates because you cannot go back and check. Above all, do no harm. That's what it means. If you don't know something, don't do it. But is that the end of the story? So the moral of the story is better know something so that you can do something. Don't take the flip side. I don't have to do anything, so why should I know anything? That is the wrong way to look at it. So acquire skills, acquire knowledge so that you can actually be useful. There is no right or wrong. One has only his and his own conscience to guide him. You cannot have, there are many laws which may not be morally or ethically correct. And there are many ethically correct things which may be illegal. You may be helping somebody in your practice as a surgeon or as a doctor. End of the day, court can sue you for attempting something like an open cardiac massage, which is not recommended in a particular situation, emergency thoracotomy, which is not recommended in a particular situation. Although your intent was good, morally your intent was to help. So we got to strike that thin balance because you don't make this world, you just live in it. Any idea? Any role for faith to play? Yes, patients are losing faith in doctors, but we are in the company of, we are talking to each other, so I can be honest about it. But to a great degree, the doctors are responsible for it also. You cannot tolerate what on yourself, you shouldn't give it to others. Compassion is the beginning of learning as a physician or as a surgeon. Don't lose that. And when we peep deep in our hearts, we realize that it's a challenge and we must deal with it. At the same time, you could be ethically, morally correct on paper to give therapy to somebody, even though you know it's not going to help. Patient is going to live for 3 to 6 months. Say, late stage of cancer, you're making him spend money. That's where patients have lost faith in doctors. You're fleecing money out of somebody when he's dying. It's not the right practice. I'm not saying it is done. What I'm saying is it should not be done. Now, if you don't think you're going to provide at least 3 to 6 months of survival, a good quality survival, it's not worth it. So don't make the treatment worse than the disease. That's the next thing you got to learn. There's a book which I would want all of you to read, and I'll be very happy if somebody's taking notes, and I'm sure this recording should be shared with everybody. Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. It's a beautiful book where you'll understand that we fit in very well. The belief is what is mandatory. I have nothing against those who are atheists because even they believe in absence of something. So believers believe that there is a God. Atheists believe that there is no God, but they still believe. So it's interesting. And at the same time, we are in a dark tunnel right now. We don't see the light at the end of the day. We don't see light at the end of the tunnel, but should not get depressed with this. And more importantly, don't curse the darkness. It's not going to change. Just light a candle, it'll disappear. And it's exactly the kind of effort that your group has made to have this talk for all those who think they are in a state of darkness. That's not true. You haven't lost anything. It'll come back in a different way. Make the most of it. Get positives out of it. I'll try and share with you how me with very lots of limitations in the last couple of years uh, could actually plan to do certain things with the help of probably my closest student and the one who has made a lot of effort in bringing Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines to where we are, where we have lots of groups joining. I think I'll share at the end what we do, and that will be wonderful. Another book which I enjoyed reading and I am recommending to all of you. These are just a couple of books. Few things will come just to take the burden off your head. Molecules of Emotion. It's not very complicated, and don't think they're very. I mean, there's another book, Ascent of Man by Carl Sagan, which I realized was one of the best books I read, and it was long back when I was training as a medical student. So, Making of a Surgeon, another good book. So these are books you must read. They give you that kind of an insight. So there are molecules of emotion. Now we have molecule of God, also the God particle. Well, this is one of my students, now my colleague. He is in Stokes-on-Trent. He's a surgeon who teaches surgical anatomy in this place. I visited his lab. This is in UK. I mean, in a county which is called Stokes-on-Trent. Trent is the river. So I have gone there many times, and during my stay there, I went to this place. So I was involved in this ethics-related talk where they discussed about faith, emotion, and a lot of people are getting back to our ways of looking at life. But I particularly wanted to share that he's doing an NGO, he's running an NGO called Chintan, which works in the mountains, and they're doing a great job. Couple of editorials I wrote where I wanted to highlight the Indian way of looking at the concept of training and learning. Excuse me. Integrative oncology, finding an Indian solution, which is actually basically based on the Indian way of treating. So don't go uh, daggers drawn against established methods of treatment. Anything which is based on evidence and anything which is evidence based is acceptable rather than eminence based. So don't listen to stories. Don't be against any method of care as long as it is benefiting your patients. It is beneficial. So it's not individuals. It's the concept which you should go for. Can making of a surgeon be a spiritual pursuit? I thought yes, and it has got nothing to do with religion. The spiritual word is not religious. It is relating to the the concept of the soul and the way you look at it, the way you feel it. Because if you know who you are, then you will know what I'm talking about. The pillars of art of medicine, they are applicable to surgery, medicine, gynec, whatever. Knowledge, I've already covered that. I'm just summarizing it. The patience, you should have the patience to put that knowledge to use. I've learned about hernia today. I must operate tomorrow. It won't happen. You'll have to assist many before you can get to do one. And then you'll have to do many before you get to do one correctly. And then you'll get to do one outstanding case only when you've done many correctly. So it's a long journey. And at the bottom is humility. If you're not humble about what you can do, what you have done. A lot of people asked me in my uh, Gurukul group. Initially, they were asking, a lot of people have been asking all these years, how do you get all the 4 fellowships? How do you get the American fellowship? How do you get? They all just happen. They are not they're things that happen as you go along. There's no peak to climb. But at the same time, if you don't climb a peak, you'll rot. Peak, you have to climb it simply to climb. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stay there. Of course, people often will ask a mountaineer, why do you go climb that peak and then come down? You don't stay there. So it's a peak inside you that one is climbing. When you go outwards, you're actually going deeper. So in your journey outwards, inwards, you have to travel outwards. That's what it is. There's a beautiful story of um, one of the most famous gurus of this country, Guru Nanak Dev. He walked east, west, north, south. Somebody asked him, why are you going that far everywhere? When you are saying the God is right here and you are the one who's teaching, it's right within your heart. He says, I have to travel out in order to travel in. So that's what is a take home for a lot of people. So these are bitter plants that taste sweet. What are the usual blocks in learning? After that, I'll come to the brass tacks of what we do. Ego. Id and ego. Id is not too bad, but ego. Every man that I meet, I remember a very, very important lesson that I learned from my mother and also from my father. Once he said, look, there is nobody in this world who doesn't know at least one thing that you don't know. And you may respect him for that. So there is everybody who is your guru. And there are stories in Upanishad, if you read, about the 21 gurus of Avdhut. He calls Earth a guru, sun a guru, a bird a guru. Even people who do wrong things, they are a guru because they teach you, from them you learn not to do those things. So learning is the most humble thing to do. And as long as you're living, you're learning. And as long as you're learning, you're living. So the day you think you've learned it all, it's the end of the story. You better start checking your pulse and ask somebody to pinch because you won't. Now, Avdhut says, then the Rishi is asking, so which is the best place for you? He said, I like to be water. He said, why? Because in learning, water goes to the lowest level. Automatically, it goes from the top of his arrogance to the bottom. It comes from the snow peak mountains and comes down to the ocean. It has the joy of traveling all this while the mountain can keep staying where it is. So that's the purpose of learning, and that's the approach to learning. So every man that I meet is my superior in some ways. In that I learn of him. So ego will stop you. You need to challenge yourself constantly. You know this gentleman, Bobby Fischer, very famous chess player, who used to, because those days there were no computers, he was a champion for many, many years. And he was quite an eccentric gentleman. So a lot of people used to feel, now he has beaten everybody, there was nobody good enough to play chess with him. So he started playing against himself. And this is the classical picture where he's playing it against himself. So challenge yourself. Do not run a race with others. Like I always say, in a rat race, the winner and loser both are rats. Don't run a rat race. Run a race with you, within you, so that you get better than what you were yesterday every day. Yet you need to be yourself. Don't try to be me, you, he, she. You should be yourself. And why should you be yourself? Because that's the most important and the most exciting thing about you. That if you succeed as yourself, then at least you can trace that journey. You start with a reference point that I was this, now I become this. But if you have changed in the process, it's not the same person who has succeeded. I don't know if I made myself clear. If it is some Mr. X who starts his journey, but with progress and with success, he becomes Mr. Y because he's now too big to be what he used to be. Then the person who succeeded is not Mr. X, it's Mr. Y. So it's a challenge to be yourself, but be yourself. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. In any case, don't try to become somebody else. Be yourself, and you're the best piece that God could produce. God is very, very special in preparing special pieces. Everyone, each one is special. There is just no difference between people. It is just the capability to work hard, motivate, and hopefully in finding the right guidance and the guru, which can be within your soul, your own conscience can serve, and you can find the direction. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that this bird can change. If it changes, it's no bird. It's not the same bird that we're referring to. Having said that, it's a big, big challenge. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And the commonest example is when you're all choosing your specialty or subspecialization, or as to what do I do. You will score the highest marks in your competitive exam. Surgery was your passion. You always wanted to be a surgeon. And suddenly the whole world comes and tells you, do you know radiology goes for 3 crores? You're getting radiology and you're not taking it. And suddenly you realize, I have experience of so many of my brilliant students going from surgery. They topped in surgery. And then they topped in their competitive exam, whatever you call that. And at the end of the day, they ended up joining radiology only to realize 10 years hence that this is not what they wanted to do. Then they start searching for interventions there because something to do, because that is what was their passion. So in choosing that subject, you're all in that phase. Do not go by your brain, go by your heart. It's exactly like falling in love. Don't think too much. The arithmetic is going to fail you. It invariably fails people. You cannot be made by somebody else. The world is trying to change you. Why are you wasting your time? You'll have to, when you join your general surgery, you'll have to do subspecialization. Let's take up a terminal specialty. Terminal meets the end point. There is no terminal specialty in this world, friends. Today, it's an organ-based specialization. In US, especially, in the morning itself, I was interviewing. Now, the fellowships are organ-based. There's nothing like you do MCH, Diem, or whatever. It's what you do that makes you what you become. An ideal way to get trained, actually. This was a talk on the same career building, and this is way back in one of the Royal Colleges. I was delivering a talk on how should we uh, prepare our curriculum, how can Indian curriculum be adapted to this, and it was also a talk about a great surgeon, Shushruta, as to what did he do and what is it that we still can do. And as International Surgical Advisor for the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, I am encouraging all of you to become members of our college so that we have selected scholars last year in our conference, and we'll discuss about that at the end if there is any question. Become members so that you can later on become surgeons and members of the Royal College of Surgeons. Presently, you'll be undergraduate members, affiliate members, and then you'll become MRCS and FRCS, and it can go on and on. I presented my book, the first book on neck dissections, that was way back in the Royal College Library. This is still there. And that's outside the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh Gate. And that's the famous knife in the hand. And this is the oldest college in the world, as they say, for medicine. It's more than 550-year-old. According to this, and in that talk, which I just showed you the picture of, what is optimum surgical training? That's what I spoke about. Developing a proper approach to surgical decision making. I put that as first because it's very important. You may learn all the skills, you may learn all the theory about surgery, but you would not know when to use it. So that's what is the primary purpose of training. You must develop good communication skills. We did 3 communication skill workshops with Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines. I'd invited the Royal College experts, and we are going to have one again. So all of you must join the Gurukul group of Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines for that workshop, where we teach communication skills by having practical demonstration. You must have an extensive experience of pre-operative and post-operative care before you actually go to skills, which is the last part. Pre-op management is what is all medicine. Post-op management is what is all medicine. And in addition to a physician, the surgeon is one who operates. So surgeon is a physician plus he does surgery. There should be an ability to adapt to a changing environment. I remember my tenure at Sri Lanka in the IPKF wartime, and we had to adapt to surgery, making a hospital out of the house of a forest officer, making the kitchen into an OT because that's the cleanest place for a Tamil. So we found that that's where we'll have the OT. And we created a forward surgical center, and that's how it works out. So you should be able to adapt to that, something that doesn't happen frequently. We are planning to have these workshops more frequently, and they don't need any real scenario. It can be done virtually. And of course, the most important part of it is the leadership skills. Otherwise, surgeon is a natural leader. He should be leading by being in front. He takes all the decisions and he takes all the blames. So don't miss out the part 2. If you're the one who misses out the part 2 or who's trying to be political about his decisions, surgery is a wrong branch to be part of. Finally, the operative skills, which you of course will learn over a period of time. Probably you're missing out on a bit of this. Rest can still be taught. Now, what is it that has changed and what are the challenges? So we are talking about what you've been waiting for. COVID times, what is it that has changed? Operative surgery has stopped. The planned and the elective and the emergency surgery, we are doing emergency surgeries regularly, but elective surgery has stopped at our place for the last 3 months. Otherwise, we were doing. Outpatient clinics have got restricted because naturally most places are dealing with COVID pandemic. And this is something which was quite unexpected. So You can't simply sit back and cry over it. It doesn't really help. Like I said, light the candle. The ward rounds are virtual. Now we're doing that. What are we going to do about it is what I'm going to deal with later on. The ward rounds have disappeared. I used to take a lot of pride in my ward rounds. They would last for 2 to 3 hours. Uh, if Dr. Sukriti has also logged in, she would vouch for it. 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, morning or evening. MDTs, that is multiple multidisciplinary team meetings, which we would have with subspecialties, and we put lots of these recordings on YouTube for all of you to watch so that you understand. Contact with the trainers is gone. I think this is a very essential part. Do you know, I've been examining in the last few months. All exams are assessments, all assessments are virtual now. They can never replace the actual exam, but let me make you understand, the MRCS exam is also going virtual very soon, and it's not inferior. The best OSCE exam you see in the world is the one that's conducted by the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh and the other colleges, and that's all virtual. So it is, most of it is virtual. OSCE came in first time there. The research and presentations have actually suffered. The trainee's illness and self-isolation, I think, is a major killer, because this is what has put most of them in isolation, in one little rooms in some corner, and actually not meeting their colleagues so frequently. Or with PPE on, you're not the same people. And actually, these are the challenges. So what can be done about it? What are the solutions? The solutions, friends, are the virtual reality. And let me tell you, and I'm not trying to make you feel that we enjoyed it. It's bad. But we learned something during this period. And what was the most important thing that I would take as a leaf out? I would not be very keen on doing any physical meetings anymore. It is possible to do them virtually and very effectively. There were no pre-existing solutions, but there were a few things we were already doing in Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines, which I'll share with you. Basically, you need to learn, unlearn, and relearn in this scenario. And through creativity and innovation, it has already begun with us. We had started before COVID, and I'll show you that. Keeping record and maintaining the logbook of whatever you're getting to see. And then every case should be a learning opportunity. Don't let it go waste. I'm telling you, it's your time. And don't think the world is going to change for you. You'll have to change for the world. Now, this is even before the COVID had come in. We started with the first virtual webinar, and these were not happening that time. You can see Dr. Sukriti there. That time he was a postgraduate. Now she's my registrar. She's been my undergraduate, probably one of my best students, closest students. She is conducting a webinar, and we did 8 or 10 of these series, and a lot of them are available on YouTube. And I'm sure you would be watching them, and you should be watching them. In these webinars, we picked up topics and discussed. We had cases discussed. Then we gradually learned. And this has started with a very ordinary recording and nothing much with her mobile phone. I think it was recorded. The camera was very basic, and you can actually see the mic there. So it was collected in bits and pieces, and it was done under the American College of Surgeons chapter of India. And since I'm the president and governor, it could be started, and it was appreciated very much in US, and a lot of people are now following it there. And then we started learning out of what we can do, what more can be done. And we started with the CME's conferences, weekly webinars, which are still happening, clinical case presentations and lectures. Undergraduates are presenting tremendously, and we realized the power of their presentation in the first conference that we did, for totally dedicated to undergraduates, 5 days, and you would be surprised, we had 2,400 delegates, and we never knew how we were going to manage it. This was the first virtual conference organized in the history of the country, and also under the banner of the American College of Surgeons and Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines. Everybody was flabbergasted. They wondered, how did it happen? Including basic skills, which I'll show you some clips of. We did the basic surgical skills workshop. You had those carrots at home, potatoes at home, tomatoes at home, bananas sutured. Then we had the knotting skills done on specially created simulators, and all of you contributed. We had the award-winning surgical quizzes. We selected 15 best scholars in that conference. They were recommended for the membership of the American College of Surgeons. and they are members of the American College of Surgeons as undergraduates, mind you. We did the cadaveric workshop, but that was before the COVID times. Scientific paper writing workshops were done 4 times. We use simulation models, and this is where I would especially like to compliment, and a lot of it had to do with me sitting with my student, Dr. Sukriti. We've created models. They're all on YouTube. We have got them. They're almost in the process of getting patented. There's a model for doing how to do hernia surgery, how to open up an abdomen, open hernia, lichen stent, shoulder hernia, uh, mastectomy, MRM, neck dissection, thyroidectomy. And we are going to have more of these coming. Vascular repair, many models we created, and they're all going to get patented. So a big deal. In fact, they were strongly recommended by the American College of Surgeons in their curriculum, and they were inexpensive. Simulation training is already come in most of the medical schools, but is it affordable at home? Is doable at home? I don't think so. So the models that we produced won't cost you more than 500 rupees, and you can practice. Do visit our YouTube channel to see that. And then, of course, the virtual ward rounds. This is the last conference where a lot of you participated and did paper presentation. Some of you are still asking about how did you pick up the scholars. The list is still to be completed because we could not complete the entire selection. This was done recently. Then we had the ASOMA Con meeting, which was the Asian Society of Mastology meeting, where lots of undergraduates, postgraduates from across the globe joined. And this was considered a landmark meeting where we were joined by European Society of Surgical Oncology, Central Eastern European Breast Cancer Surgical Consortium, American College of Surgeons, Royal College of Surgeons. Everybody participated. I don't think Royal College was there in this, but Asian Society of Mastology participated, and a wonderful convocation we had. Now, some of the skills you will see here. This is before COVID, and you can see the Gurukul postgraduate masterclass. This is postgraduates. You can't see space. People are sitting on the floor. It went on for 5 days, and this was done under the Gurukul of Surgical Disciplines, where they were taught about case presentation and also paper presentation. And finally, the scholars that you can see here, they were awarded the membership, a resident membership of the American College of Surgeons. In this, we have 2 undergraduates. I hope they're visible behind. They also made their presentations and they were awarded separately. Now, this is a classical picture. This student, Sejal Grover from Mumbai, she was selected the scholar of the meet. She scored the highest marks in paper presentation. She was a final year MBBS student when she appeared, and this was COVID times. Their exam was uncertain, but she made the best presentation. The judges are right here, and we had participation, and the judges from abroad also marking. She scored the highest marks, and we had a list of 15 scholars that were selected. So it was done to encourage them. Now, some glimpses of the skills learnt at home. So it's all doable, friends. Don't get disheartened. We'll do one more course very, very, very soon. You can see the banana being sutured here. Somebody did a tomato suturing. Hats off to these. These pictures are the ones I picked up, and there are many which we could not pick up. You can see them after each skill which I demonstrated on a simulator, and in a video that Dr. Sukriti circulated beforehand, they were taught how to make those simulators. They made those simulators at home, and you can see they made a knotting pad. They made the tying at depth simulator, suturing pad. Everything was doable. So we did that free of cost. All of these conferences were absolutely without any registration fee, because I do not believe in selling education. I believe it is something which is your right to take from your teacher. And the teacher should get pleasure and joy out of sharing. And that's what it was done. For me, it was truly a joy. And you can see the student doing it with an iPad, I think, in front, and following step by step how to hold the knife. This is a student doing it at his home, and all of them were doing it at home. And we had someone from Lakshadweep, Andaman Nicobar, and far-flung areas participating. Truly a joy. Another student trying to put the surgeon's knot. Friends, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Do not lose heart. it doesn't make any difference. The learning should not stop. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But remember, you may be talking about many things which have been able to inspire you. In the end, it's not going to matter how many breaths you took, but how many moments took your breath away. Now, I'll share with you some of my other facets, which I hope would make you feel good. This is a very old picture of my visit to Gomu Glacier. This is a very holy site, a very difficult trek that time. It's got better now, but unfortunately the glacier is shrinking. This is where from Mother Ganges comes out, Mother Ganga comes out. That's a black partridge in a forest in the morning. There's a video of this on YouTube if you want to see. Me with my students after they pass their post-graduation in the forest, a tiger waiting to jump, grimacing, charging. And that's a spotted deer with wonderful, wonderful appearance, the physique, the antlers, and a bank miner trying to act as a symbiotic friend. This is a very, very old picture that was awarded the best picture in one of the meetings of the wildlife experts. But this is done with the old Minolta XG1 with 2x teleconverter. This is a sambar doe, and that's the fawn. I saw the delivery and actually took the pictures of it all. It was taken against the light to give it a mood. So that's how this picture got. It got a third prize. Mating season for the tigers. That's an Indian goa, the Gila monster for India. Gila monster is not in India, but this is the only poisonous lizard that we have in India, digging for laying their eggs. That's a tiger on the kill. Yes, I showed you earlier my present student, Dr. Sukriti. These are my old students. This is Dr. Megha Tandon, who's associate professor with me, and this is Rohan Khandelwal, who was my student from first year MBBS, and he was motivated into taking surgery by staying absolutely next to me. He learned at the elbow of his mentor, and I'm very proud of the way he's taking himself forward. This is in Carpe. Once they passed their exam, I'd taken them out. We went out there for learning in the forest because there's learning even there. So both of them are probably now teaching some of you, both Megha and Rohan Khandelwal. Well, I will conclude, and I generally quote this from Mark Twain because I believe in it. There's no way man could have descended from the monkey. I have it on good evidence that God created the monkey later because he was disappointed with man. So don't think there is all misery in this world. The world is about many good things. I'll just share with you a very quick video, and maybe then I can close it once I've done that. I'm just trying to look for whether it will work. And let me know, is the screen still shared? Yes, it is. Now, that's about a little bit about what can you do in lockdown, and that little picture clip that we made by connecting everything together. First of all, I would request one of you, Yuvraj, to kindly unmute and tell me, is it audible to you? And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear, sir.
Thank you. This is Shushruta College of Surgery.
Movement on deglutition is because of its attachment to the pretracheal fascia, investing it, ligament of bearing, sticking it to the pharyngolaryngeal complex. Zone is from hyoid bone above to suprasternal notch below to carotids or the internal jugular vein on both sides.
We had clinical case presentations.
Cheap papules in the heel of left foot. The ulcer was initially about 1 × 1 centimeter in size, but it has rapidly progressed within about 6 months. This can be a punched out ulcer whose margins are hyperpigmented. The ulcer is tender to palpate and is associated with the spontaneous serous discharge.
30 years, there is first cousin consanguineous marriage, non-healing, rapidly progressing ulcer, over the left heel, poor growth spurt. So you're looking at a syndromic case, isn't it? What is in your mind?
We also conducted OSCE-based mock surgery exams, and we'll do
65 years gentleman with history of dysphagia for past 8 months, initially for solids and now for liquids.
Now, based on this history, what do you think? It's a mechanical obstruction to the passage of food, or it's a physiological? Now the questions are, you can see the film. Start describing this picture.
Sir, this is a upper GI contrast area.
It's a student from Grand Medical
It shows that there is an abrupt narrowing which is seen in the middle and the lower part of the esophagus.
Ready to go? This is myopectineal orifice.
These are spotters in the quiz.
Tell me the boundaries.
Also the X-rays, radiology for all of you.
Intravenous pyelography or intravenous urography. Now you can see that it's not dye, it's a stone only. And what do you see here? The back pressure.
The bilateral ureters and your dilated pelvic calyceal system.
And how to do the clinical examination.
You take any reference point which is bony. Mark it. Don't underplay it. This is mandatory. And then you measure the gross wasting. It's a classical femoral triangle which you don't see in normal people. This is a vessel. Completely displaced. It's too far medial. They're very similar.
You see a lot of them on YouTube.
But this is broader than this. And it's got a curvature. This is for a function. Langenbeck did the first cholecystectomy.
This is before COVID.
Now, Langenbeck, when doing the first cholecystectomy, used it for retracting the part of liver which is where the bladder is, the gallbladder is, or the, what do you call as, the plate. He would retract it, but he was constantly finding that it is not enough. What will happen with the retraction? The liver would keep falling like this. The part here, part here. So it did provide the space that it needed. Plus, it was narrow, so it could enter into the liver. The nerve is being teased away and dissected away. One can see it going into the pharynx very clearly.
YouTube, but
the superior artery, superior vein,
so it can still
and
be
the
done.
nerve, all three
Teaching
structures can be seen in the same
and
view.
the learning should not stop.
So it's mandatory to look for it. And we don't believe that it's seen in less than 30% individuals.
And these are the simulation model I was talking about. Please do see them on the YouTube. You'll find them very useful. And a lot of effort went in. I must compliment my registrar, Dr. Sukriti, for helping me in doing it all. And this was I think the workshop that we did.
As I was describing the scalpel, the grips. One was the palm grip, which I showed you. The other is a paintbrush grip or a pen grip. When you're using for dissection, you want to move, or you're making curved incision like this. Then you use it like a paintbrush. And also for raising flaps, mind you, apple-to-apple comparison between scissors and the scalpel or a knife. Knife is superior because remember, any instrument which has got two blades like scissors will first crush and then cut. And any instrument that crushes the tissue will produce dead tissue. And the most important cause of infection subsequently in a wound. Yeah, show it.
That's a student showing.
Our Kiran Kaur. Show it closer. Excellent. Good too. Just keep it in focus, please.
They're all undergraduate students from across the country. And they were fantastic. How quickly they learned. That is Chetan. They quickly learned so much. And they were very good at it. I must compliment them. That's the Aberdeen North they learned. Now, that should be your approach to learning as I understand. And that should be our approach to teaching as we look at it. So I think with that, I can stop, and I'll be extremely happy to take any questions from any one of you. First of all, I hope it made sense. My purpose of talking to you was not to give you a sermon, because even I'm finding out better ways of training and teaching. And I think if there is one, I should not say there is any good thing out of COVID, but there's one thing that has come out is the learning methods have increased. And you're not surprised, because we were the first to start with webinars and conference. Now, almost every day there is a webinar or a conference, and thrice a day I am involved in it. So I'm wondering if that was something good or bad which is started, because you would appreciate everything is good in little amount, and it should be something that is useful and something to learn from. But that's the way forward. And I personally don't think American College of Surgeons conference this year we are doing virtual again. And I'm planning to do the Gurukul conference, Gurukul Con, where we select the 15 scholars, again virtual. And you're all welcome to be part of it. Thank you for listening to me patiently.
Yes, Diem, please continue.
Good evening, sir. Sir, first of all, the session was very motivational. And to be frank, we were really searching for what to ask you, but you have covered really every single thing from every nook. So, what I personally really like that, why should we choose a subject like surgery, and how should we really choose? So the point that we should listen to our heart, then again, really made very much sense to me. And the pillars of art of medicine was like the knowledge, patience, and humility were dealt very well. And the spiritual pursuit is something I really liked, as well as the book. I definitely read all of them if possible. So thank you for that. And so I have like a couple of questions. First is like, what should be the procedure for covering syllabus for both professional exams and PG entrance?
That's a very good question, and I know why you're asking also. If you ask me, do I like the PG entrance method of examination and selection? I don't like it at all. It's the most absurd way to pick up students for any specialization, but then that's the way you have. So one can't be simply complaining. So how to actually fix it? I have an answer for that. And I'm very seriously thinking, and I hope my registrar is listening, but she's the one who will be given the task. I am wanting to start a curriculum course where I'll cover it chapter wise. I'm talking about surgery, where you learn for your PG entrance while you're learning for your final prof. It should not be an MCQ zombie that I'll be producing. I'll be producing somebody who can create MCQs. And you'll be surprised, I did a sample one webinar, and these students could create wonderful questions. And the way you have understood and the way you were coming across as a student who is looking at the spiritual pursuit, you would understand. Unless you know the whole thing, you will just know the hole in the thing. The problem is, most of the time, it's an MCQ based training. And I have faced it for many, many years. Do you know, when I'll give you the example of both, first of all, Rohan Khandelwal, when he finished his MBBS, when he was in final year, fourth year, third year, he'll come to me. So my classmates are going across the road to some coaching center. Should I join? I said, do you think you're lacking in anything? He said, no. Then carry on. Why bother? The other student you saw, Megha, she never went to any coaching. Both of them did not. And I never taught them surgery like a I don't know, I shouldn't be talking about myself, but I don't believe I should do anything which I don't enjoy doing. And I mean the same for you. So if you're not enjoying it, there's no point becoming whatever, because it's a waste of time. So I think surgery can be taught in a method which takes care of not only your MCQs, that can be taken care of, they're very easy to do. The understanding of the subject can be made better. So I'm putting it, I mean again, getting back to the horse and cart story, it may get a little longer, but you'll understand it. You see, again, the emphasis is on the cart. That's the trouble. Cart here is that question bank of MCQs, crack so many, you'll become this. In fact, I've watched some of the coaching classes happening. I've seen on YouTube some of them. Don't read this, read up to this. Don't read this, read up to that. I never went to any coaching. I think only during my times, only bad students went for tuitions, and these are tuitions. So good students should be able to do it themselves. Why should they need a joker to teach them how to appear in an exam? You should read your subject well, understand your book. So answering your question, I don't want to make it an idealistic answer so that you don't go back with any positive take. The answer is the middle path. And what is the middle path? Understand and also crack the MCQs. Enjoy, yet crack the exam. I am getting students who are joining me with a rank 10, rank 4, rank 15, hopeless in their surgical exposure. They're bad students because they've just cracked the exam. And surgery is not about cracking the exam. I need somebody who's got a passion for it, who's got the drive in him, who is involved mentally, physically, and like I said, falling in love. That's, you don't start counting how long is the calculation of everything, how much is the bill, how much is the bank balance, how tall is the person, how good is the nose, how good are the eyes. These things don't matter because they are just temporary. Same thing applies to subject. Pick up something that you're going to be all your life. People change. I mean, I'm not surprised that a lot of people are very unhappy with their life, doctors especially, past 40, past 50. Why is it so? Because they're in the wrong place. And they realize very late. Now, if you ask me to do to live it again, I'll just do the same thing all over again because I just did what I wanted to do and do the same thing. I have no cribs. I mean, I never I didn't want to be a bureaucrat. I can't waste my time sitting on a file. I'm not so stupid that I'll just be working on the files. I wanted to be a surgeon. You getting what I'm saying? So what I'm talking now is, you can be a physician, you can be a radiologist, you can be anything, but be yourself in that. That's what doesn't happen. Answering your question, I hope I made sense of it, is one, you cannot learn without understanding because it is going to change. Fortunately, even the MCQs are changing. We've seen it change. We've been involved in many changes that have happened. The questions are becoming more clinical based, especially in the international exams. It's becoming very, very clinical based. So it is going to be beneficial to understand. The last part was, do I read it only in final year? That's the most absurd thing to do. And that's something your immediate seniors teach you, which is a wrong teaching. Please take it back and give it back to them. And if you are the seniors, please teach your students, juniors, start from third year, attend clinics. That's what you're here for. You join medicine to become doctors. I'm sure, with due respect to microbiology, pathology, or whatever, you didn't join in to become a microbiologist. You could have, now we have BScs and MScs in that subject. Surgery, medicine, gynecs, pediatrics, ophthalmology, you wanted to treat patients. So don't change it just because of that. So learning surgery only if I keep my focus, it is possible to understand and yet crack the MCQ.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the most popular question that we are facing right now. And so my next question will be like, what can be the upcoming innovation in branch of surgery? Will AI take over surgical operations from human?
That's again a brilliant question. And I must compliment, and you can compliment the one who asked, Devang. I could just read your name, and coming in a very intelligent way, you reframed it for me. Now,
actually, it was from a spectator.
No worries, Devang, that's okay. Artificial intelligence is artificial. Actually, that answers it. It is never, never, never. Although I say never, because never is never right, always is always wrong. Artificial intelligence can never replace, like the robots have not replaced humans. We use robot as an arm. When I have to do robotic surgery, I need to command the robot. It's the human being who's the leader. Surgeon will always be relevant. I am not too sure about the physicians. I'm sorry, with due respect to them. You may have some machines answering some questions, which is possible. Maybe there you can have some solutions, but I don't think even there. because there are variables which are so many. Although you can have more than 1,000 variables covered with a computer, but a human computer, it cannot be 5G, 6G. It's a masterpiece.
Yes, sir. Sir, another question, like what we hear from our first MBBS, that for being a surgeon, you need to have a very like hand and eye coordination, which is really important. Other than that, you need an eye of an eagle and brain of an genius and a woman-like hand. This is a quote that I read during my first professional. So, sir, how do we really develop these skills?
Well, it is partly correct what you just said, but naturally not wholly correct, because everything is an exaggeration in this world. If you look at nature also, there's a lot of exaggeration, right? It has storms coming and there is an exaggeration everywhere. Not bad, it's good. But remember, it's about 40 to 50% skills, of which about 30% are inherent, rest are acquired. And I've already left that 50% for learning and becoming what you can. It is possible to acquire those skills. I'll not compare it to all other arts, but like I say, surgery is an art and science both. So the science part of it can be learned, art part of it, most of it can be learned, but there will always be that little edge. Like you have singers of all quality. There were so many who came, but there are only few who were outstanding. And there are those who are just remembered forever. So that difference would always be there. But isn't that something exciting? At least you have a reason to excel every day, change every day. While in most other specialties, you'll reach a plateau so soon that you'll be tired of yourself. I'm not joking. You will be tired of yourself. There's an old saying, very old saying, that a physician knows everything, does nothing. Then you have a pathologist who knows, I mean, a surgeon knows, they say, not much, I won't say nothing, but does everything. A pathologist knows everything, but does everything very late. And for a psychiatrist, knows nothing, does nothing. But I'm joking. So don't get it the wrong way, just to make it light. And I, with due respect to all the psychiatrists and everybody, because I have a good friend of mine. I visited him in a place in UK. I won't tell you. Whenever I used to go for the FRCS exams, I'll stay with him. And that day he had his clinic. He's a psychiatrist, and it's a true story. So when I landed, and he didn't come to pick me up, so I took a cab and reached his home. They said he's in clinic, so I went to his clinic. So he was naturally in a psychiatric scenario. They don't allow you to sit there. So he said, do I come in? What do I do to meet you? Because I have to leave. He said, you can join me. I'll take permission. So take permission from each patient, and I was allowed to sit on a sofa. I was sitting and listening to a little bit of it, mostly not. Now, after 5, 6 patients, they don't have a long list like we have a long laundry list of patients. They don't. So at the end of 6, we just started walking off. I was carrying my trolley, and he said, I can take it for you now. No, I said, you worked in the clinic so hard. I'll do that. Don't worry. We walked up to his car, and when we sat and we started driving from Manchester towards Edinburgh, I asked him, no, how do you listen to all this? Because each one came and gave a story. And each one came and gave a different story. The whole day you're listening. He said, who listens? So it becomes so monotonous. He says they come to take it out on me, and I'm listening. So that's to make it light again. Here, you got to listen, do, and work. So it's a challenge. I'm sorry, what was your question? Yeah, the heart of a tiger and the fingers of a lady. Well, it is basically to exemplify the decision making, but at the same time, not going with a hammer and a nail attitude, to go with a chisel and a hammer attitude, and the finer chisel and a final hammer attitude. So that's what it means. But it's all achievable. It's all, you see, a lot of us don't do it and think that we can't do it. So it's not necessary that everybody who can paint well will be a good surgeon, and every surgeon can paint well. That's not true.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering that question. With that, we'll come to an end for today's session. We at ASOMA would like to thank you, sir, for taking out your time from such a busy schedule. And I hope everyone who attended the session had their doubts cleared too. With that, I will like to, I think we have a form for certificates, post-event form. You can go there and fill it. And as well as I will like to announce that from July 10 to July 17, we will be hosting an international virtual conference for healthcare students, that is MedInvade. The first edition was really good, and I'm pretty sure we'll also be having a gala time for this second edition too. So thank you so much, sir, for coming here today and for motivating all of us in such a uncertain times, I'll say.
Devang, it's a pleasure, and I must thank the whole squad medicine team, and I'm so happy all of you, Yuvraj, Sanmeet, and others for having me. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be in a class. I've always been in a classroom all my life. That's how I spent it. Even my operation theater is a classroom. And you're all welcome to be joining Gurukul group and joining, seeing the YouTube videos of ours. And lots of YouTube videos are on where you can see the virtual workshops, and feel free to be part of it. And I wish you all the very best in all your endeavors in future. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, we'll be having a group photo now. So if that's okay.
What do you want to do? I'm there. Why don't you make it into a gallery view and get it?